Despite it being day, the moon can still be seen in the bright blue sky. The city is as busy as ever, with people trying to head to their destined locations for the day. A girl inside the train excuses herself bumping into other passengers since she needs to get down at her stop. Yui notices her struggling to get out, so she gets into the girl's space to assist her, telling the girl to go ahead. With heart in her eyes, the girl expresses her thanks and manages to get off the train. The door closes and the girl inhales and exhales deeply, glad that the entire ordeal is over. Inside the train, two girls are whispering about Yui as they gush because she looks cool. They wonder if Yui is single and briefly consider asking her out. They assume Yui is a male, but when they see her full form, they notice she is wearing a skirt. Outside of the school, a girl is trying to hand Yui a present. She is shy and trembling as she urges Yui to accept her gift. Yui makes an attempt to turn down the gift, but after taking a good look at the girl and noticing how much she wants Yui to take it, she ends up accepting. At the gym lockers, Yui opens the gift, which turns out to be a towel with her initials. Her friends Nobara and Kotobuki catch her and notice that Yui has accepted yet another present from a girl. Her friends tease her since she still charms girls, which is something she's been unconsciously doing since middle school. Because she has a hard time refusing gifts, girls continue showering her with presents. Both of them assume that Yui is enjoying the situation, but in reality, Yui doesn't enjoy the attention. She is tall, slender, with a low tone of voice, and her features have earned her the nickname of Prince in the school. As she walks the halls to head to class, several girls call out to her, calling her Prince. Kotobuki expresses that their excitement is valid since Yui is way more appealing than most of the guys in their school. She recalls Yui's heroic feat last year during field day, where she helped a girl who fell. Yui carried the girl to the finish line and still placed first. She continues to compliment Yui, saying that Yui is like a hero straight out of a romance novel. Yui wonders about being a hero. Two female students await by the corner to catch a glimpse of Yui. They notice the other girls, so Yui decides to take a detour. Yui walks around, and as she exits a building, spots a handkerchief on the ground. She calls out to the student, personally handing the handkerchief back. The students swoon over her appearance as Yui abruptly leaves. As she jogs away from the crowd, she thinks deeply about how people seem to consider her more as a hero or prince instead of a girl. She doesn't blame them, having accepted that this will be how she is treated due to her looks. Suddenly, she is shocked when Kohaku jumps from above, landing in front of her. Unable to react in time, Yui ends up on the ground. Kohaku apologizes and asks if she is okay. Kohaku observes her closely and cups her face, remarking how beautiful she looks. He then realizes that Yui might actually be a boy, which disappoints Yui. Yui, taking offense, asks him to get out of the way. Kohaku looks at Yui as she walks away and wonders if he remembers her from somewhere. In her classroom, Yui is lost in thought. Kohaku, mistaking her for a boy, had upset her for some reason. She suddenly notices that the girls in the classroom seem to be excited over something, so she decides to ask her friends what the deal is. Nobara shares that there is another prince in the school. She then adds that there is a rumor that the other prince's dad is a multimillionaire who had brought several women to tears. Yui doubts the validity of the rumors. Yui regards the other prince as none of her concern and goes back to her notes, unaware that Kohaku is looking at her from outside. Their eyes meet, they remember each other from the morning. Kohaku crudely asks if Yui is okay, and everyone kicks up a fuss over how the two princes know each other. They surround Yui with questions, making Yui realize the other school prince is Kohaku. From outside, Kohaku's friends ask how he came to know Yui. They mention she is famous, considered a prince in their school despite being a girl. This surprises Kohaku since he thought she was just a beautiful boy. His friends call him rude as he looks up to Yui, where everyone surrounds her. Suddenly, he feels himself growing curious. After class, Yui drags herself to the store, still worn out from the sudden attention she got from everyone in class. She managed to clear up the misunderstanding, but the girls' relief had left her feeling disheartened since they don't seem to look at her as a girl either. She sees something she wants to eat and moves to grab it, but stops herself when she notices the cashier is getting bothered by a drunk. Yui steps in, threatening the man that she will call the police. Angry, the drunk man grabs Yui, telling her to mind her own business. Kohaku steps in, taking evidence of the drunk customer's behavior on his phone. The drunk man demands that Kohaku should delete the evidence. Annoyed, Kohaku grabs the man by his jaw, telling him to get lost. He then notices Yui and lets the drunk go so he can greet her. As he is chatting away, the drunk makes a move to strike Kohaku, but Yui swiftly blocks the attack and scolds the man for attacking from behind. Everyone in the store is charmed by her heroic move. Kohaku even snickers at her action. The store manager then complains about the commotion and begins beating the drunk for making such a scene as Kohaku drags Yui out of the store. They end up in a park under a full moon. Yui wonders how she ends up in this situation. Kohaku commands Yoi's actions, asking about her move. Yoi shares that she knows martial arts, which impresses Kohaku. He now understands why the girls call her a prince. Yoi remarks on this, saying she didn't choose to be a prince. She considers herself normal, but everywhere she goes she hears prince or hero. She wonders why she had decided to tell her troubles to Kohaku. Kohaku affirms that it is okay for girls to not be demure, and that having a prince-like girl in the mix is alright. Kohaku admits what Yoi said back in the store made his heart flutter. Yoi thanks him, and Kohaku decides to call her by her first name, even adding Chan as a suffix. Yoi is surprised, wondering where he had learned her name. Kohaku wonders how, despite Yoi's beauty, she's never been treated like a princess. Kohaku assumes the men around Yoi must have horrible taste. Yoi feels uneasy being called beautiful for the first time, so she isn't sure if Kohaku is serious. Suddenly, Kohaku lifts Yoi like a princess out of the blue. Being her first time, this throws Yoi into a panic. Kohaku assures her that his arms won't be broken and asks if she feels like a heroine now. The wind blows, and under the streetlights, Yoi blushes, much to Kohaku's surprise. Yoi pushes herself off and says she needs to go home, running away. Yoi feels that she is not the type to experience such things and sits down in the middle of the street, overwhelmed with new feelings. She convinces herself that she is fine and that she was only surprised. Back in the park, Kohaku is also confused about the feeling that briefly overcame him, but he only takes a moment to decide he likes it. The next day, Yoi goes to school and manages to maintain a graceful exterior despite actually being embarrassed over her reaction last night. She chides herself for being self-conscious. As she climbs the stairs, Kohaku spots her and calls out to her like old friends. He asks why she had left so suddenly, and she tries to hide her embarrassment by saying she had something urgent to take care of. Yoi asks if it's okay for them to be talking given their reputation. She feels like the school might take their relationship the wrong way. Kohaku bluntly says he doesn't care and the school can go ahead and make assumptions. He then starts going down the steps to meet her, admitting he has taken interest in her. Yoi takes it as a prank, asking if someone is hiding or filming in secret. Kohaku assures her that is not the case and has trouble explaining what he feels since he is sure it isn't exactly love that he's feeling. Suddenly, he gets an idea on how to explain his sudden fixation on her and says that he wants to keep watching her forever, describing the feeling like how someone would like to see something beautiful every day. He also admits that he does not want to take his eyes off her. Something Yoi says is what a stalker would do. Kohaku counters that a stalker wouldn't admit anything to his victims, but he's coming out clean to her with his intentions and asks Yoi for lunch. Yoi bluntly refuses, fixing him with his suspicious gaze. As she continues to walk to class, Yoi looks back on how men usually perceive her. Her experience is limited to most saying she is regarded as handsome and not cute and men calling her a cool prince, so no one really had a romantic interest in her. She continues to wonder about Kohaku's feelings for her in the classroom. This makes the girls around her think she looks amazing despite looking troubled. She can imagine someone called Prince taking interest in her. She bets Kohaku says all those things to other girls. Her friends shake her out of her thoughts by asking her to lunch. She begins to ease up as she chats with them. But Kohaku ruins the moment by showing up in her classroom asking for her time. His presence causes the classroom to fall into chaos as gossip begins to fill the room about their actual relationship. Seeing that her classmates are close to misunderstanding the situation, she hurriedly goes to Kohaku and tells him that she's ready for the special committee meeting, pushing him out of the classroom. However, this does little to satisfy her classmates' curiosity. Kohaku brings Yoi to an empty classroom knowing she does not want to be seen by others. Seeing that he just wants to have lunch with her, she decides to entertain his request, but decides she should finish early so she can return to her classroom. She unpacks her lunchbox neatly on the table and prepares to dig in. However, Kohaku is only sipping on a juice box by the window. She decides to ask him to take a seat, but is surprised when he takes the seat directly in front of her. After her initial shock, she realizes Kohaku did not sit down until he was sure she was comfortable. She observes him longer and notices how nice his long fingers and face look. She pushes the thought aside for now and pours her curry sauce onto the rice neatly. Kohaku expresses his amazement at how well prepared her lunch looks, and Yoi shares that her family owns a curry restaurant. Kohaku is amazed since he had never met someone with a curry restaurant. Yoi admits that she doesn't openly share that her family owns one because she fears a possible nickname will be given to her. This makes Kohaku curious as he begs her to share it and promises not to laugh at her. Nervously, she admits she might be called the Curry Prince. He manages to maintain a blank face, but it eventually becomes too much for him and he ends up laughing. She reprimands him for breaking his promise, but Kohaku claims that he likes the fact that she has a curry restaurant and even considers it cute. Yoi is confused, so Kohaku explains that how she's self-conscious about it is endearing and everything about her is cute. Yoi fixes him with a strict stare, asking him to stop because she doesn't know how to respond. To her shock, he says that it's good. He grabs her tie and admits that he likes her expressions and hopes that Yoi will show him more. Yoi is shocked, since this is the first time a guy had ever hit on her. Sentaro calls out to Kohaku from outside the classroom. Sentaro opens the door, finding Kohaku inside. He doesn't see Yoi because she had decided to keep herself hidden behind the curtains. Yoi is thankful for the interruption because she thought she was going to combust with Kohaku's flirting earlier. When Kohaku asks what's up, Sentaro asks about the cute senior Kohaku was supposed to hang out with. Apparently, Kohaku didn't reply to her messages. Yoi remembers Kohaku's reputation of being a player, which makes her snap back into her senses. Yoi opens the curtains, revealing herself. Sentaro was surprised to see Yoi there, not expecting the two princes to be in the same room. Yoi tells Kohaku to refrain from inviting her to lunch ever again. Yoi stuffs her items back in her lunch bag and politely leaves with a stuttering Sentaro in her wake. However, Kohaku notices she left her curry container. Yoi walks down the hallway, thoughts of Kohaku being a playboy occupying her mind. She finds him calling her cute and possible and believes Kohaku calls everyone that. Determined, she reminds herself not to be fooled by his cheap words. At the family diner, Yoi serves the customers. Some regulars compliment her appearance, causing her to laugh. Helping her father at the register, two female customers bet Yoi is always told how handsome she is. Yoi smiles politely in return. Memories surface of how people keep calling her handsome, alongside the one with Kohaku calling her cute. As much as she believes it is nothing special, Yoi keeps remembering it since it is a first for her. Hearing new customers come in, Yoi looks up to greet them, only to find Kohaku and Sentaro. Flustered, Yoi asks why they are here, wondering if she's being stalked. Kohaku dispels her fears, handing over the curry container she left earlier. Kohaku and Sentaro enter, and Yoi announces their arrival to have seats prepared. Yoi's father upgrades their curry plates after finding out they are from Yoi's school. Yoi asks Kohaku if he's telling everyone that her family runs a curry place. Kohaku denies this since Sentaro naturally found out. Back in the classroom, Sentaro recognized the sticker label on Yoi's curry container as being from a recommended restaurant. He apparently is a big curry fanatic, and to prove his point, both of them turn their gaze to Sentaro, who happily takes photos with his camera. As the boys dig in, Yoi's father teasingly asks who her boyfriend is since the only males she talks to are him and other patrons. Seeing her converse with other men puts his mind at ease. Yoi takes the moment to observe Kohaku, and based on his face she can tell he is thoroughly enjoying his food. She catches herself staring and shakes it off so she can focus on work. Completely full, Kohaku wants to sleep while Sentaro prepares to go home to write his food review. Sentaro settles the bill and gives his social media account right before he leaves. Yoi approaches Kohaku, who does not want to get up. Kohaku slips his finger on Yoi's palm as she picks up their plates. Kohaku asks if he can walk her home after work. Yoi pulls her hand away and says that she can't just leave as easily. Nearby, Yoi's father peeks out and tells Yoi she can clock out early, much to Yoi's surprise. Outside, he advises her to be home by 9 and leaves. Kohaku remarks that Yoi seems close to her dad and compliments their curry place. They walk together, and Yoi decides to satisfy her curiosity. She asks about Kohaku's supposed hangout with their senior. Kohaku says he declined since returning the curry container is more important. Yoi said he could have returned it another day, and breaking a promise with a woman is not good. Kohaku smiles and explains that Yoi's personality is very fitting for a prince. Kohaku then apologizes for upsetting her during lunch. He had intended to visit her to set things right, but he noticed he had only annoyed her further. Taken aback, Yoi tries to explain that she isn't mad, but she finds herself at a loss for words. Suddenly, a heavy downpour falls on them. Kohaku tells her to run and follow him and leads her to a big home. Yoi soon learns that this is actually Kohaku's place, and he is inviting her in so she won't catch a cold. Drenched, Yoi takes Kohaku's old clothes to change into. Looking around, Yoi asks about the grand house, and Kohaku replies his grandfather is the president of the company. While changing, Yoi remembers Nobara mentioning the same thing. However, Kohaku doesn't carry himself like a rich person, and even eats food a regular student would eat. Yoi exits the bathroom in Kohaku's clothes, naturally looking good on her. Kohaku steps forward while complimenting her looks, and Yoi blocks him with his self-defense stance. Kohaku tells her to relax because he is just going to make them some tea. Yoi looks around again and wonders if they are alone. She wonders out loud if the school calls Kohaku a prince because of his wealth. Kohaku finds the reason for his moniker dumb. He wants to stay low-keyed in school and explains that he had declined the invitation from their senior earlier because he had never agreed to hang out with her in the first place. Yoi realizes she was under the wrong assumption earlier. Embarrassed, she bows deeply in apology since she jumped to conclusions. Kohaku lightly brushes it aside, but Yui corrects him, saying she doesn't have experience with men, and that causes her to be uncomfortable. To hide this from him, she had intentionally made herself appear cold. She admits it is the first time a man showed interest and is unsure how to handle things. After her apology, Kohaku hooks his finger with hers, closing their distance. He asks Yui if she is okay with what he did, and Yui finds herself unable to move. Their reverie is broken by the sound of Yui's phone ringing. Her dad is calling her. Realizing it is late, Yui exclaims she must go home. Kohaku insists on walking her back. On the walk back, Yui assures Kohaku that she won't talk about his house. Kohaku tells her that it's fine since they actually reside in a condo that acts as their decoy home, so no one is going to find out. Yui looks at him with astonishment due to how entitled he is. Yui wonders if it is okay for her to know, and Kohaku says that even if she wants to kill him, he'll let it happen since that would mean the last thing he sees is someone beautiful. Yui calls him out for laying it thick, and Kohaku assures her it is a joke. He advises her to always call him out or else he'll sound crazy. They decide to part ways at a convenience store. Yui feels that she should be the one walking Kohaku back, but Kohaku says that it will defeat the purpose of walking Yui home. Kohaku asks Yui to call him by his first name and confesses that his feelings for her are closer to love than he originally assumed. Yui watches as he leaves, baffled by the confession and her own feelings toward Kohaku. At school, Nobara and Kotobuki are excited about Yui's experience with Kohaku. They ask more about her relationship with him, making it difficult for Yui to reply. Still, the two princes being together excites the two girls, especially Nobara, who is a BL enthusiast. Given Yui's nature, they think the assertive and experienced Kohaku might be a great match for Yui. Yui continues to deflect, and Nobara shares that the initial dislike will make the romance spicier down the line. They think Yui is getting special treatment since Kohaku is generally indifferent towards girls, going as far as calling it fate if they end up together, causing Yui to choke on her food. Yui's impression of Kohaku has changed since they first met, but she still doubts Kohaku is serious with her. While buying a drink, girls call out to Kohaku. He strikes a pose, which excites them. Another pair of girls approach him and say that they heard he turned down the senior who asked him to hang out. They then try to persuade him to go with them instead, but he turns them down, claiming he is busy. They then joke that the reason might be Yui, and share that Yui looks too much like a man. Kohaku didn't like their tone at all and called them ugly to their faces. Calling him names, they storm off. Shun and Sentaro point out that he tends to be a little too harsh with females. They both wonder about Kohaku's sudden interest towards Yui, since she is the opposite of the girls he dates. Kohaku stops and turns to explain that it's weird that no one else is interested in her. For Kohaku, Yui's appearance is enough to spark curiosity, and how she acts, especially when talking to men, is interesting. He goes on until Shun tells him to stop before he goes too far. Shun believes it is the impure thoughts that drive Kohaku to make the first move, which is unlike him. Kohaku, having none of his friends' comments, decides to skip class. Kohaku continues to be curious about Yui and wonders why no one is intrigued by her beauty. To him, Yui is someone that anyone would stop and stare at. He wonders how the desire to know more about her counts as impure. Yui suddenly feels a chill, which worries her friends, so she decides to go to the nurse's office to get medicine. When she's a distance away from her friends, she halts her steps because she feels that her fever is getting to her. She feels it's probably from getting drenched in the rain. She opens the door to the nurse's office, only to find Kohaku inside. She immediately slams the door shut, and Kohaku calls her rude from the inside. They struggle by the door handle, with Kohaku overpowering her and opening the door. Kohaku notices Yui's fevered state. He asks if she's okay, which Yui dismisses, wanting to be alone. Kohaku gets her a glass of water, telling her to ask for help when she needs it. He encourages Yui to not be a prince in front of him. Sitting on the floor, Yui accepts the water. She slowly stands up and makes her way inside the nurse's office. Kohaku offers to get the nurse as Yui makes her way to the bed. Lying on her side, Yui closes her eyes as the fever overtakes her. However, she snaps her eyes open when Kohaku suddenly lies next to her, announcing that the nurse is out. Yui tries to get him to leave, but Kohaku refuses, explaining that he'll help warm her up. Eventually, she feels her energy get drained, and Kohaku insists as he shuffles closer, promising that he won't do anything. Yui fixes him with a stern glare and refuses, so Kohaku decides to get under the blanket and cuddle closer to her instead. He begins patting her head, and Yui can only grumble about getting him back once she feels better. He chides her for not just staying home, but Yui doesn't want to tarnish her record for never being absent. As they continue to talk, Yui feels herself slowly getting comfortable in the position. Kohaku notices and describes that hugging him feels like hugging a cat, and Yui can honestly agree that it does feel that way. They end up sleeping till the end of school, and Kohaku insists that he walk her home. When he leaves to get his things, she notices that her bag is by the bedside table with a note. The note is from her friends who had gone to check on her. and seeing that she was asleep with Kohaku, they had decided to leave her things but also write how she looked cute with Kohaku. Yui wonders what she is even doing with him. They eventually leave school grounds and Kohaku tries to invite her to eat, but Yui insists on heading straight home. She suddenly feels like she's getting used to walking home with him, then Kohaku takes her by surprise by admitting that Yui is comfortable to sleep with. Yui feels uncomfortable with the declaration, but Kohaku insists it's an essential part of finding a soulmate, which makes her think about her conversation with her friends. Curious, Yui asks Kohaku's idea on fate, to which he invites her to test if they are fated for each other by dating. He is about to take his offer back and play it off as a joke, but Yui surprises him by accepting. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss new episode every week.